There we go. So welcome to the Scaled Down Livestream. Sorry that we're late, but where we dive into all aspects about downsizing, aging, and everything in between. I'm your host, Natalie Lewin of Lux Transitions, and each week we bring you expert insights, personal stories, and practical advice for you to navigate this important life stage. So, today we're excited to chat with Andrea Allen, the amazing supervisor at Rise Collaborative. Rise Collaborative is all about providing support and resources to seniors who experience elder abuse and self neglect, ensuring that they provide comprehensive support through evidence based programs designed to reduce harm, respect autonomy, and restore relationships. So, before we dive in, Andrea, how are you doing? What is fascinating in your life today?
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. What is fascinating in my life today? The incredible week we had with some nice fresh air, and now we're back to this humid temperature. So that's a little mesmerizing. So yesterday and today has been pretty bad, but I'm not a lover of the heat.
Yes. I understand. I'm a lover of the heat, but I don't do well in the heat. So I have this conflicting relationship.
I'm straightforward. I love my winter.
Wow, you
I
love
do. I love my winter.
wow. Well, all we got to do is bundle up, right?
That's right. Layers,
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 layers.
layers. So, Andrea, I want to discuss with you a little bit about your career and what got you to this point working with Rise Collaborative and helping seniors and their loved ones navigate and identify elder abuse.
Um, so my career has been, I can divide it in two parts, I guess. One part was providing direct services for many years now, even decades now. Direct service to parents and children initially. Later on, I moved to focus on children with developmental disabilities and mental health. Later on, I moved into working with adults and older adults in regards to their mental health and other life struggles.
Right.
The second part, I would say, of my career has been more in terms of a management role, where I've enjoyed supervising not only staff but students as they gain the skills and experience that they need to follow in the footsteps of those who came before us.
Okay. Very nice.
Excellent people. Yes.
Got it. Well, thank you. So, can you start by telling us a little bit about Rise Collaborative and the work you do to address elder abuse?
So the Rise Collaborative is a extension of a program that began in the United States, in particular in the state of Maine. It has now expanded due to its success. And as I said, it is evidence based. The co founder in Toronto or in Ontario is David Burns, Dr. David Burns, and he is from Toronto. And so he brought the model back, knowing that our population is aging. 1 in 10 are older adults, and 1 in 10 will experience different forms of elder abuse as we move through this time and journey.
Wow. So, I know elder abuse can take many forms. Can you explain how it might manifest in the context of real estate transactions?
Yes, so the RISE program is a model that focuses on the older adult as the client. The referral can come from the client themselves, or it can come from a family or any relations who is concerned about verbal abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, financial, or neglect of that older adult. So it's fully comprehensive. In terms of real estate, what we have seen, and I should say to you that RISE has only been in Ontario since April of 2023. So we're really just ramping up.
Right.
Um, so what we've seen is various ways in which financial abuse, which is the primary and most common form of abuse, it's
Okay.
often underlying the various forms of abuse, manifest itself. And therefore, the ownership of property is implicated. So,
Right.
whether it is the owning or the selling or the various aspect of real estate, it's very much implicated.
Right. So you touched upon financial abuse. What other forms of abuse do you see are prevalent?
Oh, we see all forms. We see all forms. We see verbal abuse. We see physical abuse. We cannot imagine that family member or relations, caregiver could actually harm an older person, but we see it unfortunately every day. We see emotional abuse.
Right.
So, as we know, as older adults move through different stages of life, their relationship with their loved ones can change.
Mm-hmm.
It may begin with a distancing in terms of people, family members moving to a different house, a different city, a different town, or a different country.
Right.
However, the expectation that they would maintain contact is something that the older adult may hold solely out of love, slowly out of care, is
Right.
the expectation of the older adult. Unfortunately, what we have seen is there is often a cost. And so the expectation that if you want me to come, can you help me with some money for this or the other task or priority that they may have? Or the older adult may be living with or moving in with a family relations. And as I mentioned, from the older adult's point of view, it is for love and for care, both way, mutual care and
Right.
mutual love. And unfortunately, it may come at a cost. We also see where the cost seems to be we no longer need you, but we
Mm,
need your assets,
right.
i.e., this house,
Mm-hmm.
or for you to give us money towards a property.
Right.
And so that is how it manifests in terms of um, real estate. So, as I said, just to emphasize, it is the expectations of maintaining relations for love and for care that the older adult is approaching and expecting of their relations. However, it may come at a cost.
Wow, that's a high price to pay. So, what are some of the common signs of elder abuse that family members and even real estate professionals should look out for during a property sale or purchase?
I'll start off by saying that there are numerous signs of financial exploitation. But in terms of a property transaction, we can start off by saying there is often a haste. There
Mm,
is a rush, an urgency, and you will often notice the individual who may be harming the older adult will often do all of the talking.
Right.
You will often see, if this is in person or you have visible contact, the older adult will often lower their gaze, lower their eyes, lower their heads, because it is not necessarily something that they wish, but it is concurrently something that they cannot stop.
Right.
And so some of the signs that you can look for starts with, as I said, haste. The next one is who is doing the talking. But
Okay.
you also notice, in terms of broader financial exploitation, you'll see family members who were not involved for years or were never involved have a presence. So
Right.
now they're in town. Now they've moved in. And now they're doing banking for them. And
Right.
now they're making plans for them. And they may never have been involved with the older adult, or their involvement may have ceased for a few years.
Right.
That is another indicator you can look for. Obviously, when there are changes in bank accounts, so this is broader looking at financial exploitation, you'll see changes in their bank account where historically they may have a monthly withdrawal of, I don't know, minus, let's say they own their home. So it's their basic expenses, utilities, and so on, maybe $300, $400 a month. I'm not sure what the average would be for an older adult who's not paying mortgage or rent. Um, um, but that may be doubled, it may be tripled. You may see thousands of dollars moving much faster than you had. Now, I know you want to focus on the impact in real estate, but those are some of the more notable um, changes that begins to occur. They are significant changes, um, and it's somewhat sudden in terms of the changes that begins to occur.
Wow. So can you give us some more information in terms of other forms of abuse and what family members, friends, caregivers could possibly be looking out for?
Um, that question threw me a little bit. So you had two parts to it. The second part was in regards to some other symptoms or signs
Yes.
that family members could be looking out for, and there's a full list. There's like quite a few
Okay.
signs that could be noted. I can add on to some of what I've listed so far. Um, Abrupt changes in the will, abrupt changes um, to other financial documents. So let's say previously the will listed one person, now it will list this additional person, or it will be solely that additional person.
Okay.
Um, you will also, or you may also notice um, um, regular payments that were not there before. But on a regular basis, you notice, an extra $500 going out, or an extra whatever amount going out.
Right.
Um, yeah, let me see what else is important to think about. Does that get to what you were asking about?
It does. And as you were talking, I was thinking that it's likely the symptoms that you mentioned for realtors to look out are probably similar to the symptoms that you'll look out regardless of the situation, whether it's financial, emotional. That person, the abuser, will likely be doing most of the talking, quick talking, and
They want things done yesterday. They
yes,
want things done and completed, and why are you taking so long? And
right,
you'll often hear threats. So if
okay,
you don't move it along quickly, I'll take
right,
our business elsewhere.
right,
And that is not coming from the older adult. It is
right,
coming from the person who is now invested in whatever it may be.
okay,
Um, yeah, yeah.
okay, okay.
So
So
you asked about other symptoms. So you're asking about, for example, verbal abuse or
yes,
or physical abuse. Obviously, with physical abuse, you will see marks
Right.
and bruises and cuts that the older adult again will be embarrassed to share how it
Yeah.
occurred. Verbal abuse, you will also notice again in the lowered self confidence, the waiting for permission
Hmm.
from the harmer to speak or to respond when asked a question directly. You'll notice that they're clearly being controlled.
Wow. So one form of abuse that it was totally off my radar was sexual abuse amongst the elderly. I just didn't think about that. How prevalent is that?
That's a hard one for me to answer. I didn't
Okay.
look into the stats for that,
Okay.
but it does happen.
Okay.
Um, Oftentimes, there may be substance use, mental health issues involved. It may be someone that is on, like, not a direct family member. Unfortunately, we're often seeing abuse from a child or a nephew, grandchild, right? So with
Wow.
sexual abuse, I do believe you would often see other people, let's say someone who's doing some work around their house and
Okay.
who comes by too often, right?
Okay.
Um, but sexual abuse, it's just as common as physical abuse. It's a form of physical abuse. It
Right.
is not so distinct as we would imagine.
Mm. Wow. It's pretty scary. Um, very, very bone chilling. But can you discuss the importance of proper legal and financial advice for seniors? Um, Really, not just real during a real estate transaction, any transaction that money is being exchanged. What are the proper legal and financial advice seniors should take or seek out when they're making these transactions?
So, not being a lawyer, I will definitely defer to a lawyer to speak to some of that in a more specific way. I can tell you as a social worker that yes, legal and financial advice is a great thing to have or to seek out. Unfortunately, as I shared with you, it is often encumbered. Therefore, um, it is not as free, or they are not as informed consent is not as we would think. So the individual may be sitting and willing to sign the documents. However, there may be some coercion behind it. And the coercion may be direct coercion, or it may be at an emotional level in terms of, I'll just leave and take the grandkids and you'll never see us again. We can't survive like this. You need to give us more money. Just giving you an example of what the tone may be like. It's often in that tone that I just described, where it is somewhat punitive. It is somewhat as if you're speaking to someone that you are angry with, that you are punishing, that you are holding down. Um, the other thing I would add to, of course, legal financial advice, it is a great thing to ask the older adult, if possible, could we speak for a few moments? You are the primary owner of this property. It is my practice, the real estate agent may say, that I will speak one on one to the primary owner. And then the harmer may come back in the room, or the family relations may come back in the room. Asking the older adult what are their plans for after the sales? Where will
Okay.
they live? Where will they go? Um, I would also encourage slowing down the process.
Okay.
Slowing down the process. As I said, they want it to happen with with as much haste as one could imagine. but asking the older adult if you can get some time with them one on one, and then specifically asking about what will be the plans for you after the sale. Where will you be going? Where will you be living?
That's that's our due diligence, right? That has to come into play, asking better questions. And through the weeds in those questions, we may discover situations that we might not have seen otherwise. Okay.
Keep in mind that oftentimes behind all of those questions or answers from the older adult is the coercion of something as surprising to some, love. The coercion is love. The coercion can be time. I will
Community.
spend time with you, or
Yeah.
I will leave you.
And nobody wants to be alone,
No
especially
one.
as you get older. You want that less and
And
less.
you may have needs. You may have needs. You
Right.
need help to do your groceries. You need help to cook. You may need help in other ways. And so you do turn to your loved ones, thinking that they will do it out of love, out of respect and care. It is often not the case.
So, how often would you say, or do you know, that elder abuse gets detected and prosecuted?
I can't speak to those numbers. I'm sorry. There are legal, um, um, I'm sure it's tracked in the courts. We have had two cases where we did interrupt such a sale that in one case, the older adult had changed her mind and was willing to go on without the person who was perpetrating the harm. And unfortunately, the house was planned to be closed. The closing date was approaching. My apologies. We will always remember February 14th because that was the closing date that this house was to be sold. We were
Mhm.
able, because the adult did change her mind, the older adult did change her mind, and did reach out to a lawyer to get the courts to stop the sale. So
Oh,
the
good for
closing
her.
date did not happen, and we were able to demonstrate that there was clearly coercion,
Hmm.
and we were able to stop that. That date will always, I think it will always be remembered in our program for at least two reasons. It's Valentine's, but it's also the day that we stopped at least one older adult from losing all of her life's investments.
Wow. So let me ask you, and so I know you won't know the stats on it per se, but is there ever is there a lot of opportunities for law enforcement to get in, stop what's happening, and maybe reverse what was happening? Um, I want to know, like, from your perspective, like how does this get punished, and are we being able to punish those who take advantage of elders?
So we at Rise, we do work with the police for a number of our cases. In order for the law to do anything, the older adult has to be willing to say no. They have to be willing to say, I don't agree.
Right.
That is not very easy.
Right. Right.
Unfortunately, I use the term that love, unfortunately, trumps all for too
Mhm.
many people.
Wow.
And so it can trump pain, it can trump poverty, it can trump many things. And so we work with the police if the older adult is willing.
Hmm.
In
Willing.
Canada, unfortunately, in Canada, and I can speak specifically for Ontario, we do not have any elder abuse prevention laws or legislations. Therefore, the older adult has to be willing to say, no, I don't agree, I don't want this, no to whatever is coming forward. And I make that point because, number one, in the States, they do have laws for older adult, just as we have laws for children and minors. We have
Okay.
laws to protect them. Older adults need a similar protection, but currently we do not have anything on the books. So, in terms of the police investigating and being able to lay charges, it would require the older adult to be willing to step forward. And I've tried to express to you how vulnerable the older adult is in
Yeah.
needing this family member, relations, caregiver, whomever they may be. And so, if they are needing that person, it is very difficult for them to say no.
Wow.
So then the police hands are tied,
Right.
our hands are tied. We
Right.
use something in the RISE program, we use a strategy called motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is intended to move someone from a denial that there's a problem towards recognizing maybe there's a problem, towards recognizing there is a problem, and then towards saying, I want to do something about it. So we use some strategies, again, evidence-based strategies to change people's opinion and readiness for change.
That's good. So I hope that we can definitely follow the US's lead in terms of putting in legislation that framework that we can follow to get justice and prosecute those who are basically stealing and abusing our elderly people. Um, it's a little bit sad that we are so far behind.
It's surprising. I didn't realize that we had no laws.
Yeah.
When I got involved with the project, I was surprised, disappointed. And we
Yes.
have been speaking with our political leaders in
Okay.
regards to some change. I wish to say that the RISE program works in collaboration with the American program, as I mentioned, but in Canada, we work with an organization called Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario.
Right.
All referrals goes to Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario, and they have been lobbying with the government in regards to having some legislations to protect older
Mhm.
adults.
Oh, okay. That's good. And this is all the work of your doctor, and his name is
Dr. David Burns,
David Burns, Dr.
in,
David Burns.
in terms of lobbying the political leaders, that's Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario that
Okay.
has been taking that task specifically. But
Okay.
we have had a few members of parliament come and speak with us in regards to understanding what we're seeing in terms of the risk, the dangers, the harm to older adults. So there is an awareness, a growing awareness, and an interest in finding out how can we protect them. They are, as a growing population, more and more older adults are living for longer periods of time. And so there's a growing number of people who are vulnerable. And so, with that growing number, they will pay attention as they do vote. Older adults vote.
Yes, they have all of their faculties usual at some point.
Yes.
They have all their faculties despite their age. Okay. What specific projects are you guys working on right now at the Rise Collaborative that our audience might be interested in?
So, as I mentioned, this is a project. It's a project funded by the Canadian Public Health,
Okay.
and they have funded us. It's a research project. So,
Okay.
what we're doing is working with older adults. We receive referrals from the community and from older adults themselves who want to change a situation that is harming them. And so, our goal is to help them to find safety and to change their vulnerability. So, we work collaboratively to not only intervene when there's a problem, but hopefully set up a system so that if once we close the case, other problems come up, they
Right.
don't return to that harmer.
Right.
So
And
we're trying to set up a plan, yes, so that they can have alternate options and be able to maintain that safety.
okay. Perfect. Perfect. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us, Andrea?
Um, I'm just looking if I had anything written down. I think that's it from my end. I spoke about how to make referrals to RISE, and it is through the organization Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario. You can find them online. I can give you their phone number if that would be helpful. But basically, we're working one on one with older adults who are at risk or experiencing elder abuse.
Okay. Fabulous. So to lighten it up, and every show we do this, we ask some rapid fire questions. So are you ready for our rapid fire?
I don't think so, but go for it. Go ahead.
Um, so beach or mountains?
Beach,
Beach. Okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Alaska.
Oh, Alaska. Why?
I would love to see the whales. I'd love to wake up in the mornings and know that the whales will be coming, and I'd love to see the whales.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. So, what's your go-to comfort food?
Water.
Water.
I love water.
Oh, well, oh, that's really good. I feel
Yeah.
really bad. I was thinking as I was asking you that
You
question.
mean an indulgent go-to?
Yes.
I'd probably choose ice cream and especially chocolate.
Oh, I like those choices. I love chocolate ice cream. Okay. And so what book have you recently read and enjoy that you would read over again?
I laughed because I have read a book recently that talks a little bit about the importance, I'm trying to remember the name, the importance of taking a break. And many of us do not take a break. Many of us keep going. And I'm maybe close to that, but I do take a break.
Right.
Um, the name doesn't come to me right now, but yes, yes. I do have a book that I read, and I would recommend it to many others if I could only remember the name.
I guess that's half the battle, right?
That's half the battle. That's half the battle. I focus on the inside of the book, not the outside.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Natalie Lewin of Lux Transitions, a realtor with Keller Williams Portfolio. I specialize in helping adults 65 plus to scale down to their next chapter. I'm passionate about assisting and educating people on this important piece on their journey. So if you or someone you know is considering a transition, please DM me to schedule a discovery call. Remember, life is beautiful, and I'm here to help you make the most of it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you here, same time, same place next week. Thank you.